everyone, welcome back to Learn Linux TV. In today's video, I'm going to show you guys how to install Firefox. Now, of course, Firefox is installed by default on the majority of Linux distributions out there, so why would we need to install it at all? Well, what I'm going to do in today's video is actually show you how to install a custom version of Firefox, a version that's completely under your control. One of my favorite things about this method is that anytime Mozilla releases a new version of Firefox, you'll have access to that new version immediately. You don't have to wait for your distribution to package the new version. You can simply click Help and then About, and then you click the button right there on that panel as soon as a new version is released, and that's it. Now, another benefit when it comes to my method is that this bypasses the snap package version of Firefox that's included in Ubuntu. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, the thing is Ubuntu has switched the installation of Firefox in their distro to be the snap version of Firefox, which some people just don't like. Now, I'm not going to get into the politics of that and tell you guys you shouldn't use snap packages. I'm going to leave that decision completely up to you. And if you wanted to go ahead and bypass snap packages, then my method will result in a solution that'll work great if that's what your goal is. Now, if that's not something that you personally care about, then my method might still add value to your Linux installation. My method will give you even more control over Firefox, and it might even increase the performance of Firefox as well. I can't wait to dive in and show you guys how to install the Mozilla build of Firefox, which is exactly what you'll end up with via this method. But before I get into that, I need to mention the sponsor for today's video, which is ThinLinc. And you know what? ThinLinc is actually celebrating their 20th anniversary as a company, which is very impressive. But ThinLinc itself, as a product, is also very exciting. And what exactly is ThinLinc, you might ask? Well, ThinLinc is a remote desktop solution with a focus on Linux compatibility. And with ThinLinc, you can set up remote access to your infrastructure very easily. And with this solution, there's a server component and also client apps that work on not only Linux desktops, but also macOS, Windows, and even from within your browser as well. In addition, ThinLinc is based on open source technologies and even supports server-side graphical acceleration through virtualGL, which provides you with 3D acceleration that you normally wouldn't have access to within remote desktop solutions. And best of all, ThinLinc is completely free for up to 10 simultaneous users. So for those of you that have a home lab, this might be especially good for you guys. But not just home lab, it's also good for small offices, large data centers. ThinLinc is able to expand and scale for however many Linux servers that might be under your jurisdiction. So if you're looking for a remote desktop solution, then definitely check out ThinLinc. And if you use the URL that you see on the screen right now, then you're also supporting Learn Linux TV by letting them know that you heard about ThinLinc from this channel. Thank you so much to ThinLinc for sponsoring today's video. I really appreciate it. You should definitely check them out if you're looking for a remote desktop solution on Linux. I highly recommend it. And you know what? Without any further delay, let's go ahead and dive into this particular method for installing Firefox. I think you're going to love it. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, so here I am on my Linux workstation. So let's go ahead and log in and we'll get started. Now here, I'm running Ubuntu 22.04, and I bet a lot of you guys are also going to be running Ubuntu as well, because, well, a lot of you are going to be looking for a solution if you are not a fan of snap packages to install Firefox outside of snap packages. But the thing is, this method is not actually specific to Ubuntu at all. In fact, this method for installing Firefox is completely distro agnostic. Anyway, the first thing that I want to point you guys to is an article on the Mozilla documentation pages. If you go to this page, which will be linked in the description below, and then you click right here where it shows Install Firefox from Mozilla Builds, and once you click on that link, it's going to move you further down into the article where it shows you how to install a Mozilla build of Firefox that's going to be system-wide. Now, I'm not going to ask you to follow along with this article. I just wanted you to be aware that this article does exist. With the method that I'm going to show you, I actually added in some creative freedom because I wanted to show you how to do a per-user installation, which I think has some benefits that I'll talk about later. But if you wanted to install Firefox once for all the users on your computer, then this might actually be the best method right here. You can still give other users access to Firefox with my method, but I'll leave that up to you. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started. The first thing you're going to need to do is open up whatever web browser you might currently have on your Linux system. I don't care if it's Chromium, GNOME Web, or maybe even the distribution version of Firefox. Whatever you have, just go ahead and open up your browser, and then we're going to download Firefox through the browser. And to quickly get you to the appropriate page, I've created a short URL that you can use that'll get you right to the download page for Firefox. So all you have to do in your browser's address bar is type learnlinux.link and then /. Then after that, get-Firefox. And once I press enter, it should download Firefox right to my downloads directory. As you can see, the download started and it already finished. You can see it right here. Now there's one more thing that I would like you guys to download for this method, so we don't want to close this browser just yet. So what we'll do is go to another URL, and I've prepared a short link for this one as well. So what we'll do is go to learnlinux.link again, /, and this time we'll type Firefox, hyphen, and then menu, just like that. And once you go to that URL, it should bring you to this page right here, which is, well, a bunch of text. I'll go over what this actually means later in the video, but for right now, let's go ahead and save this file. So what I'll do is just right-click anywhere here and then click Save Page As. And then what we'll do is just call it Firefox.desktop. So we'll save the file right there. And now we've downloaded these two files. We have Firefox, and we also have Firefox.desktop, which we've saved from the website that you see on the screen right now. And if I open up my downloads folder, we can see the two files. So what we could do is open this in a text editor, so I'll do that right now. So we have that. I'll just go ahead and set that aside. And then of course we have Firefox right here that I've downloaded. And actually when it comes to things we'll need to download, that should be it. So what we should be able to do is close out of the browser. And it's actually very important that if you are running Firefox currently, that you close every Firefox instance that you might have open. And the reason for that is because later on when we go to launch our custom version of Firefox, if you already have a Firefox process running, then you're going to create a new browser session from that process instead of the one that we're installing. So in order to move to the new version that we're going to be migrating to, we'll definitely want to make sure that Firefox is closed out. So to continue along, what I'm going to do is open a new file manager window. So we have this one right here, which is showing the contents of my downloads directory. And then we have this one here, which is showing the contents of my home directory. So what we're going to do at this point is prepare all of the files that we'll need to make this work. And we can go ahead and start with this text editor right here because we have a lot of text in here and we probably should understand what this is exactly doing. On Linux, a desktop file is what's responsible for creating the applications menu icon, which we're definitely going to want to easily launch Firefox anytime we want to open it up. A menu entry would probably be a good thing. So this is what's going to give us the menu item within our applications menu for Firefox. Now, before we go any further though, there's a really important change that we'll need to make to this file. This file right here references my username, and it references my username 4 different times. So you can see it right here on line number 6. Also on line number 10, we have that right here. Line number 18. And line number 22. So what you're going to want to do is just change every instance of username J in this file to whatever your username happens to be. If you don't know what your username is, then what you could do is go to the applications menu and then look for the terminal app. You can see mine right here. And here we have a terminal. So right here, we have my username. It's in front of the @ symbol. So if you didn't already know what your username is on your Linux system, well, there you go. As you can see, mine is J, we already knew that, but your username will be at the front of this prompt. And again, whatever your username happens to be, you're going to need to reference that in this file every time I reference J. So you could do a find and replace, for example. That'll absolutely get the job done. And then there's, well, no more changes that we need to make to this file. That's it. So you'll save the file, and I don't need to save it because I didn't make any changes. And then you can close it out. So now we have the desktop file ready to go. Now, when it comes to Firefox itself, we have that downloaded right here. So what I'll do is extract it. And on most distros, you can actually just right-click the file and extract just like I'm about to do here. So I'll click extract here. And it might take a few seconds. And here we have the extracted version of Firefox. So what I'll do is double-click on that. And here we have the Firefox directory. This is the directory that actually includes the browser. These files right here are all the components that make up Firefox. So inside this file, we have the entirety of the Firefox web browser. That's pretty cool. But what we're going to do is rename this. So I'll right-click and rename, and we'll rename it to firefox.d, just like that. I'll explain why we're doing that in just a moment, but for right now, let's just go along with it. Now here in your home directory, what we'll do is create a brand new directory. So we'll right-click, click New Folder, and what we'll do is name this particular folder bin, just like that. And now we actually have the bin directory, so we'll double-click on that. And then we'll right-click on firefox.d, we'll cut, we'll go over here, right-click, and then paste. We're just moving it over into the bin directory. That's where Firefox is going to live from this point forward. So now we're done with this. We can go ahead and move that to the trash. Just want to make sure that I'm cleaning up everything. And we shouldn't need the tarball either, so we'll get rid of that as well. Now at this point, Firefox is actually installed and we can literally run Firefox right from this directory. So if I double click on it, and then I double click on Firefox, watch what happens. There we go. Firefox is working. But we're not quite done yet. There's a few more things that we should do to make this solution actually work a lot better. So for right now, we'll just go ahead and close out of Firefox. We'll make sure that Firefox is not running, and then we'll go ahead and continue with the next step. Now, at this point, we do know that the version of Firefox that we've downloaded works just fine. So to avoid any potential confusion, what I recommend you do is remove the version of Firefox that came with your distro. You could always reinstall it if this process doesn't work out for you, but I think it's going to work out great, so we shouldn't need the version of Firefox that came with our distro. So to remove Firefox, we could go to whatever our software manager is that changes from one distribution to another. With Ubuntu, we have the Ubuntu software store right here, so I'll open that up. And we'll give this a moment to load. And now that we have this open, what we could do is click on Installed. And then we'll scroll down and look for Firefox. And here it is. So we'll go ahead and uninstall it. And this icon right here should actually disappear. But it doesn't always happen right away for whatever reason. And as you can see, it disappeared. So there's a few more things in the background that has to happen as it's being uninstalled. But as of right now, we can definitely see that Firefox is not installed on this system. Well, actually it is, because, we have our other directory right here that includes the new installation of Firefox. But as far as the distribution is concerned, Firefox is now removed. So we can close this right here. And we can see that Firefox is removed because regardless of where we look, we should not see a Firefox icon anymore. And what we could do right now is install the desktop file, the one that I told you we would be coming back to. So here we have our downloads directory, and then of course we have our browser. So again, here's the desktop file for Firefox. This is what's going to create our applications menu icon. So we'll need to install this file, but where exactly should we put it? Well, for that, what we could do is click on our home directory again. So we're at the root of our home directory. And what we could do is hold Control and press H on our keyboard. And that's going to allow us to see hidden files. Hidden files, if you didn't already know, are the files that begin with a period. So now we have more files here, so we can go ahead and install that desktop file. And what we'll do is go into the .local directory, this one right here. And then we'll go into Share, and then Applications. We could right-click our desktop file, click Cut, and then go ahead and paste it right here. So now the desktop file is actually in the proper place. Next, what we'll do is right-click and go to Properties, and then Permissions, And then we want to check this box right here that allows it to execute as a program. So we'll check that. We'll close out. And that should actually give us the icon. Now we're not going to see it here just yet, but if we click on the Applications menu, we can see that we now have a Firefox icon that we didn't have before. And if I click on that, it's going to open the browser. Now this message right here is just asking if we would like to set this version of Firefox as our default. Now one thing I will tell you is that this will probably come up every time. I'm not really sure why, but what we'll do is just check this box, don't show this again, and we'll also set it as our default. So now we were able to get to Firefox from the Applications menu. Now another thing that we can do is right-click right here on the icon, and we can add it to our favorites list. And that's going to make sure that we always have a Firefox icon in our panel. We can see it right here. So I'm going to move that all the way up here to the top, and now we have an icon for Firefox. Now there's one more thing that I would like you guys to do. This is actually optional, but I highly recommend that you go along with this. So I'll just go ahead and close this, and that. Let's just empty our screen. And I probably should have left the home directory open because that's exactly where we're going to make our next modification. Inside your home directory, now that we have hidden files visible, we should see the .bashrc file, which I see right here. So let's right-click on that, and we'll open it with a text editor. And this is going to contain configuration for the terminal. Now again, this is not required, it's just a good idea. What we're going to do is go all the way to the very end of this file, and we're going to add some code here that's going to make the bin directory that we created earlier in our home directory. So it's this one right here, the one that contains the firefox.d directory. We're going to add this to our path, which basically just means that the command line will look into this directory right here for executables. So if you save any other application inside this folder, the bin directory, other than Firefox itself, then you could have the applications in this folder recognized by the rest of the system that much easier. So what we'll do is we'll just go to the end, like I mentioned, and we'll type some code in here. And since this is not a command line tutorial, I won't go into too much detail about what this is doing. But what we're going to do is type the word case, and colon, $, and then path in caps, colon again, and then in. And I just pressed the space bar 4 times to indent a little bit here. So we'll type star, colon, /home, $user, user is in all caps in this case, /bin, colon, and then star, and then closing parentheses, 2 semicolons, and then on the line directly underneath that, we'll want to make sure that we line this up with the same number of spaces. In my case, it already did that for me. Star again, parentheses, and then path in all caps, set that equal to /home, and then /user in all caps, /bin, colon, path, semicolon, semicolon, and then we'll end our case statement with the word case backwards, just like this. So let's save the file, and we'll go ahead and open up a terminal, just to make sure that there's no errors, because this file is read as soon as you open up a terminal. So if we type something wrong, it should go ahead and let us know. So we'll open that up. And so far, so good. So if I type echo and then $path in all caps, what you should notice is that the bin directory, this one right here, is present. That may or may not have been present before. And because it's present now, then any application that we might add to that directory will be recognized by the rest of the system. But there's one more thing that we should do now that we have the terminal open. We should need this file right here. What we'll do is we'll just go ahead and make this bigger in my case. Let's go into the bin directory. That's where the firefox.d directory is. What we're going to do is create what's called a symbolic link. I have a whole video about symbolic links if you want to check that out, so I'm not going to go into any detail about that. But what we're going to do is type ln and then -s firefox.d/firefox, and then we'll press enter. If I list the storage here, then we can see that we not only have a firefox.d directory right here, we also have Firefox, and that's a symbolic link that's linking to firefox.d, this directory, but inside that directory, an executable named Firefox. So what this allows us to do is actually reference Firefox by just typing Firefox, and that'll launch the browser. So even if I'm in the root of the home directory here and I type Firefox, it'll go ahead and launch the browser. So I can launch the browser via the command line very easily. And I can also launch the browser by clicking on the icon right here, and it opens right up. And best of all, what I could do to check for an update is I can click right here, and then go down to Help, and then About. And it's checking for updates right now, but since I just installed this just now, there's not going to be any updates yet. But if there were, it would give me the option of clicking a button right here to go ahead and update anytime Mozilla makes this available. But also, if you don't happen to be a fan of snap packages, again, I'm not going to get on my soapbox about that or talk about the politics. I'll just leave that up to you. It's your system. If you don't want snap packages, then you don't want snap packages. That's totally fine. If that's you, then, well, you've successfully bypassed Snap. You now have a very performant installation of Firefox ready to go. And that's all there is to it. So now you have a custom implementation of Firefox that comes straight from Mozilla, which is great. So I hope this video has helped you guys out. If it has, please click that like button and also click that subscribe button because I have some awesome content coming very soon and I can't wait for you guys to see it. Anyway, thanks again for watching and I'll see you in the next video.